Hello everybody, it's Keegan here. I'm back with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another collection video for you guys. This time the first collection video of 2023, and this time it's going to be another gaming related collection for you guys. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS collection. I have a total of 31 or 32 DS games and 17 3DS games. Now, I have a lot more DS games that are not included in this video. Most of them are lost because I didn't really take a good care of my games, well, my DS games at least, when I was a kid, and a lot of them are lost. So, there's a lot more DS games that are not included in this video, like Pokemon Platinum, Lego Star Wars 2, and a couple of other ones that are not shown in this video because they're lost and I can't find them. I didn't really take the best of care of them when I was a kid. But the DS and the 3DS are great handheld consoles. The Nintendo DS actually happens to be the second gaming system I ever owned. The first one being the Game Boy Advance, which I lost a long ass time ago. And before we start, I also want to point out that some of the games on the DS don't have cases, and some of them do because like I said, I didn't take very good care of my DS games when I was a kid, and a lot of them don't have cases, but some of them do, but most of them don't. So we're going to start with the DS games first, and then the 3DS games. So yeah, without further ado, sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and let's get started, shall we? Now, before we get started with the games themselves, I want to show you guys my DS and my 3DS. Let's start with my DS, which this is actually the Nintendo DSi. This is the blue one. I remember getting this for my birthday back in 2009. And it actually works. And it's got to be charged. It just died. But yeah, it still works. I haven't touched it in a long time, though. I actually have the DS Lite that came out before the DSi. I had that first. I remember getting it back in 2007, I believe, when I was 5 or 6 years old. And in 2009, on my 8th birthday, I got the DSi. And of course, here's the 3DS, which I got for Easter back in 2011. So I've had this thing for almost 11 years. It's got the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D case, which I do have that game, but you'll see that later when we get to the DSi games. And it works. Let me just turn it on. Yeah, it works. Yeah. Alright. Let's turn that off. And now let's get on to the games themselves, because I took too long, and let's get started. And as always, we'll be going by each game in alphabetical order, and we're going to start with the DS games first, and we're going to start off with the games that have cases. So starting with the DS games that have cases, we have Dragon Ball Origins 2 from Bandai Namco, which originally came out in 2009, I believe. Not a bad game. It's a pretty good beat 'em up kind of game. Not like a fighting game like some of the other Dragon Ball games. I don't have Dragon Ball Origins 1, nor have I played it, but I have this one. It's a pretty good game. Not much else for me to say about it. Next game is Iron Man 2. I remember getting this game for my birthday back in 2010 by Sega. Well, developed by Kryptonite and published by Sega. It's pretty crappy. I don't really recommend this game. It's not very good. Next up is, I don't know how you pronounce this one, Iotu Stromovic Birds of Prey, I believe that's how you pronounce it, from 505 Games. This game's also available on the Xbox 360, PS3, and I believe it's available on PC. I'm not sure. And the case is chewed up because one of my dogs chewed it up a long time ago. Pretty good game. The cool thing about this game is before you start your mission, you're ordered to draw on the map, like draw where you gotta bomb stuff and attack stuff, like on the map. Like you gotta draw it on the bottom screen, which is pretty cool. It's not a bad game. I've never played the console versions, but maybe I'll check them out one day. Next game is The Legendary Starfy, which is a kind of a side-scrolling platform game, if I remember correctly. This game's pretty good. I like it. I like the character style. And I remember seeing commercials for it, and the commercials were kind of weird. They didn't really say much about the game other than a giant squid or something. If you've seen the commercials back in the day, you might remember you might know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Legendary Starfy, it's a pretty good game. Next up is one of the few Mario games in my collection, Mario and Luigi's Bowser's Inside Story. I believe this is the third game in the Mario and Luigi series. There was, I forgot the name of the first one, which I believe came out on the Game Boy Advance. I know there was another one on the DS that came out before this one called Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. I've never played that one. I played this one. This is kind of like an RPG kind of game, and all the combat is turn-based, which is pretty interesting. I've never beat this game, but I have played it, and it's a pretty good game. I enjoyed it. I've never beaten it, though, like I said. Next up, we got My Sims Agents and My Sims Kingdom. These two games are okay. I prefer the Wii version for My Sims Agents over the DS version, but this one's okay. My Sims Kingdom, it's okay. I never played the DS. I never played the Wii version of it, but I have played the Wii version for My Sims Agents. I prefer the Wii version for My Sims Agents over the DS version, but the DS versions are okay. Next up is another movie-based game, Monsters vs. Aliens. Not very good from what I remember. I didn't really play it that much because it just wasn't very good. The movie was pretty good, though, from what I remember. I remember going to see the movie back in 2009, like in theaters. I remember the movie being pretty good, but this game's crappy. Next up is Naruto Shippuden Ninja Council 4. I remember getting this game because my friend recommended it to me when I was a kid. And I remember this being a pretty good side-scrolling beat-em-up game where you play as Naruto and some of the other characters from what I remember, like Sasuke and a couple of other characters. I don't have the other Ninja Council games. I only have this one. I believe there was a third one that came out on DS. I think the first two came out on Game Boy Advanced. I'm not sure. But other than that, this game is pretty good. It's pretty solid. Now, I forgot to say this at the start of the video. Some of these games on the DS actually belong to my brother, such as this next one right here. But not all these games are mine. Some of these are my brother's. Which this next game is Pokemon Heart Gold version. Which this one is actually my brother's. And this one actually does not have the card. It's missing. I don't know where it is. I do have Soul Silver, but we'll get to that one when we get to the games that don't have cases. I'm a big fan of Pokemon. As if you've been on my channel, you may know I'm a big fan of Pokemon. Great game. I really enjoy this one. My brother couldn't really get into Pokemon, but that's alright. That's just his. The next one is another Pokemon game. Pokemon White version. This one's okay. It's not my favorite game in the series, but I don't know. I just wasn't too big of a fan of it. I don't know what it was, but it's alright. Next up is another game that belongs to my brother, Rabbids Go Home. I also have the Wii version of this game. I've never played the DS version, but I have played the Wii version, and the Wii version's better. The Wii version's a great game. It's hilarious. I prefer the Wii version, But like I said, I've never played this version of the game. I've only played the Wii version, so I can't really say anything about this game other than the Wii version is great. Next game is Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron, excuse me. It's like an overhead third-person shooter or something from what I remember, with some vehicle elements. I never beat it, but I remember this game being pretty good. I know this game is also available for the PSP. I'm not as big of a fan of Star Wars as I was when I was a kid, but I remember this game being pretty good. I never beat it, though. And the last DS game with a case is Wall-E. I've played the console versions of this game, like the Wii version. I actually remember the Wii version being pretty good. And Wall-E is a great movie, too. This DS version, it's okay. I prefer the console version over the DS version. So those are the DS games that are in cases. And now we move on to the DS games that don't have cases. And most of these games are mine, but a few of them belong to my brother. So the first game for the DS games that don't have cases is Animal Crossing Wild World, which is the second game in the series. It's a good game. I enjoy it. The Animal Crossing games are really relaxing. They're, I don't know, they're just really fun games. I enjoy the Animal Crossing games. I also have Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Switch. That one's great too. Next up is Brain Age. Train your brain in minutes a day. It's not too bad. It's not really much of a game. It's more of just a game where you can do math and shit like that from what I remember. I know there's a second game, but I think it's pretty much the same as this game, except with maybe more stuff to do. I'm not really sure. I didn't really look into it. Next game belongs to my brother, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Defiance, which is a completely different game from the standard Modern Warfare 3 game. It's mediocre, but I would rather you just play the game on console or on PC. I do have the regular game of Modern Warfare 3 on the Xbox 360. I prefer that version over this game, but it's not terrible on DS. It's pretty mediocre, I'd say, but it's not terrible. Just play the console version, I'd say. Next up is Drawn to Life SpongeBob SquarePants Edition from PlayTHQ. Pretty cool game. You basically draw your own character, draw your own house, draw your own enemies. Basically everything in the game. It's a platform game, man. It's a pretty good game. I've never played the regular Drawn to Life, but I'm pretty sure it's the same game except without SpongeBob and all that stuff. I never beat it, but I remember this game being pretty solid. Next up is Kirby Superstar Ultra, which is a port from Kirby Superstar, which originally came out on the Super Nintendo. I remember getting this game for Christmas back in 2008. And a really good game. It has a collection of different games from like different stories like Revenge of Meta Knight. I can't really remember all the other ones that are in the game, but this is a really fun game. I really enjoyed this game. It's really great. I do enjoy some of the Kirby games. Next up is Lego Battles. It's like it's basically a strategy game, but with Legos. It's pretty decent. It's not perfect, but it was pretty decent. The next one, I believe this is one of the first games I got with my DS. Mario Kart DS. Haven't played this game in a long time, but I remember this game being really, really fun. Well, it's Mario Kart, so of course it's fun. But like I said, I haven't played it in a long time, but I remember this one being really fun. Next game is another Mario game, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games, which is basically the Mario and Sonic at the 2010 Vancouver Winter Games. Pretty fun game. I prefer the Nintendo Wii version over this one, but it's a fun game. I would prefer the Wii version over this version, but the DS version is still pretty good. Next up, Moon, which is a first-person shooter. I believe one of the only first-person shooters that's available on the DS, I believe. It's pretty solid, although it's not great or a masterpiece, but it's pretty solid. I believe this was actually the very first first-person shooter game I ever played, actually. But pretty decent on the console, I'd say. Next up is another one of the first games I got with my DS, New Super Mario Bros. Never beat it, but it's a fun game. I also like playing some of the mini games that are in the game. The mini games are really fun. And what else you can say? It's Mario. Next up is Pokemon Soul Silver. Like I said earlier, I already talked about this game when we got to Heart Gold. It's basically the same game except with a different legendary Pokemon and stuff like that. But I love this game. This is maybe my favorite Pokemon game. I'm not really sure, but it's a really, really fun game. I really enjoy this one. It's a great game. Next up is The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. I don't have The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass or whatever the hell that other game was called that came out before this one on the DS, but I have played it. This one is a really great game. I am a big fan of the Zelda series. This is one of the first Zelda games I ever played, actually. The first one I actually played was Phantom Hourglass. That was also on the DS. I don't have that one, but I would like to get it maybe someday. The next game is Scribblenauts. This one actually belongs to my brother, but I have played it. It's a pretty good game. If you know what Scribblenauts is, then, well, basically, you type up stuff and it'll just appear. And you can use it to solve puzzles and shit like that. It's a pretty fun game, actually. There's a couple of these Scribblenauts games. I think there's like 3, maybe 4. I don't know. There's a couple of those games, though. But Scribblenauts, great game. Next up is Star Fox Command. And you'll notice that this one is actually kind of different from the other ones. It's got, I think this might be a European copy, actually, because I think that might be in German right there, but the game is in English. I don't know how that is, but it was like that when I got it. But, pretty good game. It's not my favorite in the series. It's a lot. I like how it was trying to do something different. Like, you move your characters onto the map on the bottom screen, and then when you gotta fight enemies, it turns to the top screen, and then you start fighting your enemies. It was sort of like that. It's pretty good, but not as good as some of the other games in the series, like Star Fox 64 and like stuff like that. But it's a pretty good game. Next up is Space Chimps. Not very good from what I remember. I didn't really like this game. It was just, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. Haven't played it in a long time, actually, so I can't really say too much about it. But I remember that game not being that great from what I remember. Next up is Super Mario 64 DS. Basically, sort of the same, except with a lot of same game as the one on the N64, except you can play as Luigi, Yoshi, Wario, and Mario, of course, and there's some extra levels and more bosses and some mini games. It's a fun game, although I prefer the N64 version of the game. I don't know why, but I just do. But this is still a great game, nonetheless. Next up is the first game I ever got with my Nintendo DS. TMNT, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is a tie-in to the 2007 movie. This game doesn't work anymore, but I remember this game being pretty decent. Way too easy from what I remember. I know I played the console version of the game a long time ago, but I can't remember what I thought of it because it's been so long. And there's actually two DS games left before we move on to the 3DS games. So the next game is Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen Autobots. It was okay. It's not terrible, but not great either. It was okay. I had another Transformer game on DS called Transformers Decepticons Edition. I remember that one being pretty good. Unfortunately, that was one of the games that I lost and I can't find it. And the last game for my DS game for the DS games is WarioWare DIY. I'm a big fan of the WarioWare games. I love these kind of games with all the mini games and stuff. Really fun game. You can even make your own mini games in that game. So that's all the DS games, and now on to the 3DS games. So now we're on to the 3DS games. So the first game for the Nintendo 3DS games that I have is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which is the sequel to the first game that came out on GameCube. I know the original game is also available on 3DS, but I don't have it. But I have played it. Great sequel. I never beat it, but I really enjoyed this one. I think I might have enjoyed it a little more than the first one. I don't know. The first one was still a great game, though. But not really much else for me to add. But other than that, it's a pretty great game. Next up, Mario Kart 7. I remember getting this game for Christmas back in 2011. Really great game. One of my favorite games in the series, I'd say. I really enjoyed this one. This one's a lot of fun. Well, it's Mario Kart. You can't go wrong with Mario Kart. It's fun. It's fun as hell. Next up is Mario Tennis Open. Pretty good game, although not as good as Power Tennis. I like Power Tennis better. But this game is it's still a fun game nonetheless, although I prefer the Power Tennis, like I said before. I remember getting this game for my birthday back in 2012. And yeah, it's a fun game. Next up we have here is Mario Party Island Tour, which is a pretty good game, although not as good as some of the other Mario Party games, but this one's still a pretty fun game. Haven't really played too many of the Mario Party games. I played this one, Mario Party DS, and that one on the Switch. I forgot the name of it, the one that was on the Switch. That one I played. And Mario Party 8. And this one. This one's not too bad. I like some of the other games in the series more, but this one's pretty fun, like I said before. Next up, Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Pretty good. Pretty good game. Don't really have a lot to say about it. The next game is Pilot Wings Resort, one of the first games I got with my 3DS. This game, it was okay. You just fly around on a plane, a jetpack, or a hang glider, and that's pretty much it, with some challenges, and you can fly around freely with a time limit, of course, and it has the island from Wii Sports Resort. But other than that, it's an okay game. It kind of gets boring after 15 minutes, but it's okay. Next up, we got Pokemon X and Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. Pokemon X is a great game. I really enjoy that one, and Alpha Sapphire is pretty good. I know it's a remake of the original game that came out on the Game Boy Advanced. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Pokemon, like I said earlier. So yeah, these two games I really enjoy. Next up is Star Fox 64 3D, which is a remaster, well, a port from the original game from the N64, except with updated graphics and stuff like that. Great game. I beat it before, like maybe once or twice, and it's a really fun game. I love the music in that game too. It's really good. Next up is Super Mario 3D Land. Not my favorite Mario game, but it's not too bad. Although, it's not my favorite, like I said before. But don't really have anything else to say to that one. Next up is the first game I ever got with my 3DS, Super Street Fighter 4 3D Edition. It's basically a port of Super Street Fighter 4 except on the 3DS and portable. Except it doesn't have the animation of the backgrounds when you're fighting and stuff like that. But it's a pretty good game. Although I think Mortal Kombat is a bit of a better game than Street Fighter. But this game's still pretty fun. Next up is Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell 3D, which is basically a 3DS version of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, I believe, is what that game was. This game is okay. Just play the console version or the PC version of Chaos Theory. It's much better, but this game is okay. Next up is Rayman 3D, which is basically just another port of another game from another console. It's a port of Rayman 2, The Great Escape, which originally came out on the PS1, N64, PC, and I believe on the Sega Dreamcast, I believe. Pretty good platform game. Don't really have anything else to say about it. Next up is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D and The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. Both of those games originally came out on the N64, as some of you probably know. Ocarina of Time is a fantastic game. It's probably my favorite Zelda game. Either this or Wind Waker. I love Wind Waker. But yeah, it's a really, really great game. I really enjoy this one. Majora's Mask, on the other hand, while I do enjoy, I do find it kind of tedious with the time travel and the countdown and that shit. Well, it doesn't really bother me too much, but it's kind of tedious, but it takes a bit of time to get used to it. But it's a great game, though. I enjoy both of these games. Only 2 games left, and then we'll be done this. Well, we won't be done yet. I'll show you guys the games I own digitally on the DS. But anyways, the next game is Tales of the Abyss, which is a port from the PlayStation 2. Pretty good JRPG. I'd never beaten it, but from what I played, it's a pretty great game. Not really much for me to say about it, but let's move on. And the last game for the 3DS is Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS. Great game. I enjoy it. Although, I like Ultimate and Brawl the best, and Melee. Melee's great. But this one's still pretty good. So, that's my 3DS collection. But before we end this video, let's take a look at the games that I own digitally on my DSi and 3DS. Alright, so for my DSi games, and if you're wondering what's that picture, that's from Little Big Planet, from one of the Metal Gear Solid levels that came with the Game of the Year edition. I don't know why I took a picture of it, but yeah, that was a long time ago from when I was a kid. Anyways, for games I have digitally on the DSi, I got Mario vs. Donkey Kong Minis March Again, which is the sequel to the first game that came out on the Game Boy Advance. I've played that one too. The sequel is pretty great. I really enjoy that one. I think I like that one better than the first one, but it's the first one was still pretty good. Next up we got Flipnote Studio, which is not really a game, but it was an application. I'm sure a lot of you might remember the Flipnote Hatana from the early 2010s. Sadly, they shut that down a long time ago, back in, I believe it was 2013 or something when they shut it down. I can't remember. I know that it's available on the 3DS as well, but it doesn't have the Hatana because they shut it down a long time ago. That's a shame. I used to go on Flipnote Hatana all the time whenever I went over to my friend's house. So many fond memories of that. But yeah, next up, Arcade Hoops. Pretty solid game. It's just an arcade game where you just throw basketball hoops, kind of like what you see at an arcade. Not really much for me to say, but let's move on. That's the DSi browser. Can't really go on that anymore, I don't think. Next up is Game & Watch Mario Cement Factory. There's a couple of these Game & Watch games that you could have downloaded on the DSi back in the day before they shut down the shop. Back in 2019, I believe, is when they shut it down. Or 2018, I can't remember when they shut it down. But pretty good game. Then we got Photo Dojo, which is a fighting game where you just take a picture of yourself and your friends, and you get to just fight each other out. It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and I remember this one being pretty fun. And the last game for digital games on the DSi is Game & Watch Flagman. Not really much for me to say about it, but it's pretty good from what I remember. Yeah, so that's the games I own digitally for the DSi. Now onto the 3DS games that I own digitally. So for 3DS games, I'm actually just turning it on. I got... What the hell? Face Raiders, which was a game that was built into the 3DS. It was alright. It wasn't great or anything. And we got Nintendo Zone Viewer, which I don't know what that is. The eShop, which... Oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. I saw something there. What was that? Well, let me see. What is this? Does this thing even work? I thought they shut it down. Nah, it's not that important. Alright, never mind. And we got Swap Note. I don't even know what this was. I think this was like Flipnote Studio 2.0 or something. I can't really remember. I didn't really use it that much. Nintendo Video, YouTube. I honestly never used YouTube on the 3DS. I don't even know why I have it. Tomodachi Life demo. Never actually owned it, but I don't even know how I got this on my 3DS. And Kirby Planet Robobot, or however you pronounce it, demo. Never played it. I don't even know why I have this. And yeah, that's all the games. That's all the games I have on the 3DS and the DS. So there you go. That's my collection of games that I own for the Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more videos like this, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos that I upload. And feel free to share this video with your friends, family, or whoever. And follow me on my other social medias like Instagram, Letterboxd, and so on. The links are in the description down below like they always are. There will be some more collection videos coming out later on this year. But stay tuned for more videos. Anyways, that's all I got to say. So thanks again for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. And until next time, this is Keegan Shepard signing off. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out.